but it's going through federal court right now because the insurance company's trying to fight having to cover the shooter.
Oh, what's up, everyone? This is Lorenzo with Unicorn Riot. We are here at the American Indian Center in Minneapolis. You can see there's hundreds of people who have gathered here today. This is the Murdered and Missing Indigenous Women's March. We brought you to an art build. Today we're bringing you to the march itself. Right now it's starting with some speakers. You can see they have a stage up here. They're going to be talking about what's bringing everybody out. We're also going to hear from different elected officials who are, I think they're going to be talking about this task force to try to create here in Minnesota. So we want to bring you all here. Thanks for joining us again. This is Minneapolis. We're going to be going on this march. We're going to be following it for the next couple hours. We're going to be listening to these speeches right now. Yeah, thanks for joining us. Please share out that link. Thanks everyone on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, and live stream.
Sorry I was late. I just ran from the light rail. I was at another meeting.
That's got from all the...
I want to welcome everybody here to the Minneapolis American Indian Center. So I came from another meeting, and I was wondering what to say. So as a lot of you heard, there was a murder last Friday. There was a 46-year-old woman who was shot and killed by her husband in Blaine. Her daughter was a classmate of my daughter's. I did not know that Mary Jo Loons was also a member of the Fond du Lac Nation. And I found that out this morning. She is a good friend of Kelly Drummer, who is the president and CEO of the Magazine Communications Organization and formerly with Tawahi Foundation. So we have hosted a lot of events like this. And as you know, we are going to be launching our capital campaign tomorrow. And with that, we are going to be doing major renovations and an expansion to the center. And I want you all to know that I am making the commitment that we will have a permanent structure. It may be in the form of an art structure that will be dedicated to victims that have lost their lives, those that are missing and murdered from our Indigenous communities. So that is my commitment. On behalf of the Minneapolis American Indian Center, thank you all for coming. And I hope that this really is a day of healing for everyone. Thank you.
Okay, if you're joining us, we are here at the Honoring Our Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women, Girls, Boys, LGBQI, New Spirit, and Transgender Relatives March and Rally.
Tillett and I were dreaming about what a partnership would look like between their organization organizing Black girls in Chicago and our organization organizing Native girls and women in Minnesota. Last year was the first time we made that happen. So this is the second year. This year they have brought 9 and they have done so much organizing work, and I'm so honored and thrilled that they have come to cold Minnesota to march with us, even though Chicago's cold too, but they were a little scared. So let's welcome them, please, and I'm going to ask them to come up and say a few words.
A group of Chicago is here to stand in solidarity with March today in Minneapolis. Again, you're watching this on unicornriot.ninja. Thanks for joining us. This is Lorenzo, your host. We are going to be following this event for the next couple hours, so go ahead and get comfortable. Share out that link, and again, thanks for joining us.
Hi, everybody. Hi. My name is Shahrazad, and like Nicole said, I'm from a long walk home. an organization based in Chicago that uses the arts to end violence against women and girls. And I couldn't be more excited and honored, truly honored to be here in solidarity with this march. I first came to Minnesota about 4 years ago through Nicole's invitation, 4 years ago by myself, to talk about my work in Chicago. And after that moment, I dedicated to always be committed to creating awareness about the missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls. I came here last year and I brought 2 young people. And this year, I brought my troops. So I have 2 questions that I ask. One question, what does it mean to really show up for one another as Indigenous and Black girls? And how does our solidarity impact the future for our liberation?
We come standing in solidarity as art activists who too do work about the missing and murdered Black women and girls in Chicago. Women in Minnesota can also connect to the Black women in Chicago. There have been women and girls being kidnapped by sex trafficking, random late-night strolls in the neighborhood, and etc. So realizing that this tragedy is happening in other areas should really open the eyes of others hearing. The first case of a woman coming up missing due to kidnapping should make people want to start helping then, but it is sad that people can just be bystanders of the situation and not do anything about it.
Like she said, there's a lack of awareness of all missing and murdered Black girls. So to remedy this, we have decided for the past couple of years to reclaim the names of all missing and murdered Black girls that have been lost to state violence or gender-based violence through #SayHerName. And we've created art and hosted events just for this purpose. In the summer of 2018, we hosted the Black Girl Takeover of Douglas Park in remembrance of Rekia Boyd and all of the missing and murdered Black girls in Chicago. Rekia Boyd was shot dead by a police officer in Douglas Park who happened to live across the street from Douglas Park, and unsurprisingly, he was not convicted of any charges. So we took over the park over the summer. We showcased all of our art forms between singing, dance, and religion to showcase to him, everybody in the community, and especially to all the Black girls, that we do have the right to exist and that we have the right to take up space.
I've come to once again reiterate our gratitude for being here in solidarity with the movement, and to also bind together our 2 movements by saying "Say her name" and "Bring her home."
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
The youth group from Chicago coming here to be in solidarity with today's march, saying "Bring her home" and "Say her name."
And I want to also bring attention to the red silhouettes that you see here. There are 3 stories of our Indigenous relatives on these, and we know that there are many more stories. And so, as our next speaker is coming up, I would love to give a second for us all to shout out, because I know we have lost many more relatives since last year. I have even lost a relative in my own family since last year. So at this time, I'm just going to ask everyone to call out their names of our relatives that are murdered, that are missing. So I'm going to take a deep breath. And on the count of 3, I'm just going to ask us all to say it out loud. And if you can't say it out loud, just give them a little shout out through your prayer and in your voice, in your head. 1, 2, 3. Miigwech. I'm going to ask Representative Kunish Podine who should need no introduction because she is working hard in Minnesota for 2 years now to make sure that we have a task force on this issue, that we have a task force to raise the voices of our Indigenous relatives at the Capitol and in the state of Minnesota, that she wants us in Minnesota to say no more invisibility, no more murdered and missing. We're going to look at the issue and we're going to do something about it.
Minnesota House District 41 to be currently speaking about the task force that's being organized here in Minnesota.
Good morning. I'm State Representative Mary Kunish-Podine. I'm really excited to be here. Every year that I come, this place gets packed and packed and packed more. And it's really heartwarming to see all these beautiful faces here. My family is from Standing Rock. My grandfather was born out there and came as a young man, and that's how our family came to Minnesota. And I come from a large family of very strong women, and those women I feel are behind me as I do this important legislation. 2 years ago, I sat and listened to the preliminary report from Canada on their study about missing and murdered Indigenous women, and knew that their report was not complete, that there were a lot of missing pieces. And when Savannah Graywind went missing, and the Congresswoman from North Dakota, Heidi Heitkamp, started their task force, I wondered, why isn't the United States doing one? Why isn't Minnesota doing one? And then that's when I reminded myself that I'm a legislator and that's my job, to create this task force. So we brought the task force to the legislature last year and got overwhelming support, but unfortunately it got caught up in politics and didn't get passed. This year we brought it back, and again, folks are coming forward. You know, there is not a day that doesn't pass where I get an email or a Facebook message or some kind of message from people all over the country saying, how can I help? And I get calls and asks of how they can support from Canada. I've even had people from England and France saying, how can I help? The overwhelming support is absolutely incredible, and we are going to continue this work until we get it done. The next speaker is going to share with you some very important information about this task force and how it will ensure that this task force starts. But one thing I want to just share with you, as I drove over here today and I was thinking about all of the folks that would be here, I realize that every one of you, every one of us that carries Indigenous blood through our veins are survivors. We are survivors. We are survivors because our ancestors survived. And there are so many of our women and girls, our two-spirit folks, our men, our boys, that did not survive. And so I'll ask all of you to reach back into your generations and ask those generations that came before us to give us the strength and the power to go forward on this task force, because it's going to be painful, it's going to be really hard, but it's going to be successful, and we have to make sure that this does not happen anymore. Thank you so much for being here and for inviting me to be here.
Thanks for joining us here in Minneapolis, Minnesota, at the American Indian Center.
So our next speaker, I know, needs no introduction in this room.
Lieutenant Governor Peggy Flanagan's going to come up next to speak.
We are so lucky in Minnesota. Of course, I think we are the best state. We have a lieutenant governor from our communities, a Native woman who holds the highest office of any other Native woman in this country. I'm so honored to have her here. I'm honored to have her as my friend and someone who has been doing this work for many, many years and who has been fighting for us for many years. Please welcome Lieutenant Governor Peggy Flanagan.
Wow, this room is packed. I have never seen so many people at
at the Indian Center before, so it's incredible. I am really honored and humbled to be here today and to be able to be here as Lieutenant Governor, but more importantly, as an Anishinaabe-Kwe. And knowing that there will be a stream of Indigenous women and allies and a sea of red walking and marching together so that people see us. So people see us. We are at a really important time in our history as we see the leadership of Representative Mary Kunesh Podine and leaders in Montana and in New Mexico and in North Dakota and all across Indian country who are saying that we are standing up for our missing and murdered Indigenous women and that this kind of treatment of our people and communities must stop. Everyone has a story. Everyone's life has been impacted by this issue. And because of the women who have been leading this work and doing this work, we find ourselves in this moment today. And so I am grateful for the legislation that has been introduced, and I am proud to tell you that full funding for the Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women's Task Force is within the governor's budget. But that is not enough. If we have a task force and we come together and the community tells us what is necessary and needed and that's where it stops, it is not enough. So we need community-led and community-informed solutions to ensure that from this day forward, we are lifting up the voices of the women. In order for us to be seen, heard, and valued, it will take everyone in this room and our allies to say we will not be political pawns. We will not be political pawns. There are no deals to be made over our bodies. It is time for our let's get it done. Shimigwich.
Lieutenant Governor of Minnesota. And Penny, you can't make a deal with our bodies, on our bodies, Flanagan. Peggy.
Miigwech.
Yeah, sorry, Peggy Flanagan, Lieutenant Governor.
This march is about all of us here and all of the many who are not here. And I want to, in order to really honor that, I want to make sure that we hear from a survivor or a relative of a survivor. I'm going to ask, and I'm looking around, for Doreen Day to come up. Because this would not be a Murdered and Missing Indigenous Women's March if we did not give voice to the stories of our relatives.
Cabelas. Bujuna no way magani dug. Wabano ko indigenous cause wabajation do dame abading aikwa gabe medeo. Anishinaabe Ojibwe Queen dao. Asa bikune zagai gining and dun jaba. Before I begin, I have another sister here somewhere. I would like to call her up, Charlene Day Castro, if you're in the gym here, or if someone could get her from her office. I'd like to ask any of our other relatives that are of the Day family if they would like to come up. Please make your way if you are here. going to go ahead and begin. Last year on May 22nd, in Tower, Minnesota, my niece's life was taken. Her name was Wabishki Migazi Kwe Iban. She was 26 years old. "45 years ago, our father, Clyde George Day, was murdered in the town of Virginia, Minnesota on November 10th, 1973. To this day, we have not received justice. To this day, we have not had closure. To this day, his case is still an open case, and it rests tucked away in the BCA. And the reason that it's an open case is because when it was revisited, they lost what little evidence that they had at the Virginia Police Department. I believe that he was murdered by the police of Virginia, Minnesota. And I have strong reason to believe that. So 45 years ago, suffered the greatest loss. My parents of 17 children. Our Dede Iban. And so it is that we live today as Anishinaabe, and we suffered yet another blow. Wabishki Migazi Kwe-Ban. What I'd like to say is I would like to encourage you all to think about those that have gone on now, whose lives have been cut short, those who have left us in the most violent way, yet they are still our ancestors. I advise you, I beg you, I suggest to you to say their name. Meshkawe Benes Iban. To say their name, to make those offerings. And my sister is here. My sister Janet just rolled up. And to say their names, and to make those offerings, and to feed them. Because I was taught by an elder from Mille Lacs that when someone is taken from us, that when we say their name, and we still continue to love, and we still continue to share our kindness, that it helps them over there. That is as much as I want to say. But before I go, I want to sing this song. And this song is a healing song because every single one of us has lost somebody. Every single one of us, whether through a natural death or whether they have been taken in the violent way that these two have. We need healing. And we need to share with one another so that we can heal, so that we can hold up our mothers that are mourning, so that we can hold up our fathers, our uncles, our aunties, our nieces, our nephews, our daughters, our sons. So I'm going to share this song that came to me, and it talks about Goko Misanan, our grandmother Moon. She's waiting for us to stand under her on the full moon. She's waiting to take your tears. She's waiting to take your asema, your tobacco. She's waiting. She's waiting to help you. that she's waiting to help you heal. It says our grandmother, as she is walking the night sky, she is healing you. She is healing me. And now I'm going to turn it over to my sister because she wants to tell you two things. Miigwech for your kind attention. Aho.
I say miigwech to Waban and Kwe for that most beautiful song. It's just beautiful. I want to say that, you know, we, besides our father, our grandfather, two of our uncles, our niece, we also had a sister. Her name was Debbie Porter, and she was stabbed to death in Duluth over 10 years ago. And so we've all lost somebody. And what I want to do about this is, as many of you know, I lead walks along the river. On August 1st, we are going to walk the Red River. We're going to start in Wahpeton, North Dakota on August 1st, and we're going to walk that river all the way to Lake Winnipeg. And we're going to do this for the spirit of that water, but we're also doing it in honor of all of the missing and murdered, our Indigenous relatives who have been slain and dumped in that river. And just a year ago, a young woman named Savannah, they dug her out of that river. So that's what we're going to do. I invite you to go to our website, Nibi Walk, and walk with us. And the more you walk, the more transformation that takes place. So if you can come to the beginning, come to the beginning. But if you can walk with us, the more you walk, the more healing that takes place. Miigwech.
Yeah, we're in Minneapolis, Minnesota, at the American Indian Center.
So before we get going on our march, we have a couple
going on this march here
of our youth that are going to sing.
A few more songs
also waiting for. We have 14 school buses coming from the Minneapolis.
A lot of people.
Like
out here, somebody who was taking. They're at 608. There has to be a few hundred more people came after that. So it's going to be near 1,000 people.
My daughter did a walkout at her school and got threatened with suspension. This year we have 14 school buses showing up from Minneapolis. That's amazing. So Podine leave? Did she leave? She had to leave. Okay. So we will. She left. We'll connect with her afterwards. So I'm going to ask this group of young people to come up.
Again, we are in honoring our missing and murdered Indigenous women, girls, boys, LGBQI, Two-Spirit, and Transgender relatives event here in Minneapolis, Minnesota. February 14th, 2019. This is going on across the country.
Early. Sorry.
Walks honoring missing and murdered Indigenous women, boys, girls, LGBTQI, different folks. We're hoping to kind of give you some more information about this task force that's being organized. Not sure if we're going to be able to. Just know that nobody's really been tracking these records. It's kind of what's been found out recently. And so now people are trying to like make up for all that data that nobody has been tracking because nobody, I guess, when the government decided to track Native women who are being killed, which is like the third leading reason that Native women die in the United States, according to the Health Institute of the United States. Thanks to everyone who's joined us again today on Facebook, Twitter, live stream, and YouTube. Again, this is Minneapolis, Minnesota. We're at the American Indian Center here in Minneapolis, where there's about to be a march for murdered and missing Indigenous women to raise awareness of it. Again, this is the second year I think we've been here as Unicorn Riot, but this has been going on for years and also going on across the United States right now. So this is just one event of many. This is one we're bringing you to. If you do like what you're seeing, please hit like and share. It's the only way people see it. We don't pay for like advertisements, so you're the only reach we have. So thanks to everyone who's doing that, making sure people are aware this is going on, and then give this voice a little wider reach. So thanks for that.
I am Marisol Cortez. I'm Ojibwe from White Earth, and this is my friend here.
Bonjour, my name is Amarena. I am Anishinaabe from Red Lake, and I am also Indigenous Meshikanawa. And we will be offering a song.
Cantemos con alegría que al cielo le está gustando. Cantemos con alegría que al cielo le está gustando. Madrecita Tonantzin, las gracias le estamos dando. Madre.
Y'all, I'm so inspired. Our youth they're amazing, and I'm so happy to see all of them here, and I'm so happy that they're leading us. We are going to start getting ready and start making our way out. We have 14 school buses. They are going to be, the youth are going to lead us, so they are going to be directly behind the truck. If you need a ride, we do have the truck in the front. Please come and see me. We will make sure that you are in the truck. Thank you.
All right. All right, everybody. Again, this is Lorenzo of the Unicorn Riot. I'm your host. We're here in Minneapolis, Minnesota at the American Indian Center. We just watched some speakers talk about the event today. It's about missing and murdered Indigenous people, Indigenous women specifically, girls, boys, LGBTQI, two-spirit relatives who have gone missing. Again, we're talking a little bit about a task force that's being organized. I wanted to get you more information about it. Not sure if it's going to happen, but I do know we are going to follow these near thousands of people into the street on a march, and hopefully bring you a bunch of interviews and just show you Minneapolis and show you all the support that's come out to stand in solidarity with us.
We have some signs available. We'll put them out on one of these tables right up front here. You can come and grab a sign. These were signs that were made at the event last night, so if you want one, please come and grab one.
This thing being put on this person's back was made last night at the community art event. So a lot of these bandanas and shirts were made by the community last night. There was a feed. Looked like 100 or so folks came together and sort of like put all of these out, screen printing and so on. If you go back in our history a little bit, you can see yesterday we were live there for about like half an hour to show you sort of the organizing that goes into this event, not only the day of, the day before. And a lot of the artists there were talking about how the art sort of brings all these people together. It sort of brings a sense of community. People who have been building this art now for years see each other and learn each other's names, and so it just builds solidarity that way. So it's one of the things they were talking about, the importance of that art build before today's march. And now we're going to go and show you this march. We're going to have to get outside, which is going to be a little intense because there's a lot of people, but we're going to do it. And everyone's just getting ready. There's a lot of folks. All right. Let's post up over here for a second. Oh, I lost. So yeah, so we're kind of like moving our way through here. Try to get an interview with Lieutenant Governor Peggy Flanagan. So we have an interview. Yeah, so hold on one second. I just want to ask you a little bit more about the task force that's being organized. See if we get a little more specifics about it. See where it actually is in the process of being created. Again, this is kind of groundbreaking nationwide. There isn't any other task forces. They are being organized. That's because Indigenous leadership is taking positions of power. Hi, my name is Lorenzo. I'm with Unicorn Riot. And you're Lieutenant Governor Peggy Flanagan. Oh, nice to meet you. Basically, I just wondered if you could tell us a little bit more about this task force that's being organized and maybe why it's so historic.
For sure. Yeah. So this work, I think, has been led by the community, by the Minnesota Indian Women's Resource Center, by the Minnesota Indian Women's Section Sexual Assault Coalition, the Indigenous Peoples Task Force, and now this past year, this past legislative session, there was a bill that was introduced. Unfortunately, I think folks played politics with it at the end of session, and this year we had some elections and there's been some changes which give me some hope when it comes to this legislation. Representative Mary Kunesh-Podein is the chief author. We have put money in the governor's budget to fund this task force that will bring folks from the community, tribal governments, law enforcement together to really start to look at this issue. Right now we don't even have the data, right? And so you can't, if you don't measure it, you don't care about it. And so I think this is a really important first step to be community-led, community-driven, so that we've got the information towards the ends of this task force, and then we can figure out what the best solutions are moving forward. So my hope and the governor's hope is that this is a standalone bill, so that can pass and can go cleanly and quickly, so that we can get to work and bring the folks together in the community. So we've got those solutions, and then the next sessions following that, we can make sure that we're allocating the appropriate dollars, and again, that we don't need the middle person, right? But this money is going directly to communities themselves and to community-led organizations. So that is my hope, and it's just building on the good work that's been happening for years and years and years, and now we have, I think, the opportunity and the visibility to begin to move these policies.
Yeah, so it's basically like the government hearing at least enough people to say like this is an actual problem that we're going to actually look at.
That's right, and we're going to measure it, and we're going to have the data so that we can say, now we can't just say like, oh, we don't know. We know. We, right, the folks in the community know, and now it's being able to have that data and then the solutions to really turn the curve on this issue that all of us have been affected by in some way, shape, or form.
And is there any timeline of how that's moving to the legislature? Or?
So the bill's been introduced. It's received some hearings on the House side. Now it needs to also receive hearings on the Senate side, so those have to be scheduled. Our budget officially is coming out on Tuesday of next week, so folks will see it there. So that's kind of where we're at. The session goes through the middle of May, but my hope is that we'll be able to make progress on that much sooner. And then I believe that the bill as it's written, the task force sunsets towards the end of 2020, and then we should be able to then have legislation and policies that are informed that we can then move forward in the legislative session in 2021.
And the task force is made up of like different groups, like along with Ojibwe bands, right? Like White Earth, I think representatives, and also like different groups that have been advocating for this for a long time.
For a long time, yep. And I think part of it is just seeing at the state, but also the national level. Now we just have more Native representation in public office. People have to see us and value us, and I think that makes a difference, and also have allies and positions who are saying this is a top priority. This should not, missing and murdered Indigenous women and our relatives should not be a partisan issue. Everybody should be on board. So I'm hopeful that it will move forward, and I think the strong turnout today at this event is just an indication of how important this issue is.
All right, cool. Well, thanks for taking the time to talk to us. I'll let you get back to all these folks.
Thank you, Unicorn Riot, for your work.
Oh, thank you. Take care. You too. All right, so that was the Lieutenant Governor of Minnesota. Hey, good to see you. Looking very, very astute. Very good. Anyway, so that was the Lieutenant Governor. We learned a little bit more about the task force they're trying to pass. Again, I want to go a little further into it, but again, she looks like she has a lot of people she's going to be talking to, so I'm glad she gave us that time. Again, the task force is like groundbreaking in the sense there isn't really anything else like it. There's a few other states who are organizing it, and so Minnesota's kind of like part of this first sort of thrust of Indigenous leadership putting forth task force, or putting forth people being like, you got to make these data sets, you have to look at this information because it's real and it's happening and we have to stop it. At least at the government level, again, as you heard, people have been doing this at the grassroots level since contact, since colonization. And so now like it's moving into like the government sort of funding aspect of it. Did you get the hotspot? Just 1 second. All right, so we're gonna try to get outside. Again, that's the doorway outside. We'll look at it and say it is packed. No one's moving. There's no movement. So we're not going to actually make that much headway. But we're going to try to get there. But again, you said the task force, I can't remember, I think the bill is like HF70, something like that. If you want to take a look at it, you can look it up too. Just look for Murdered and Missing Women Missing Indigenous Women's Task MMIW Task Force Minnesota. And you can find the bill and you can read it. And you can really see sort of like the task force itself is made up of like 30 people who are going to be like meeting to discuss these things and like going through this data, including police officer, thank you, including like police associations and like the BCI I think is involved, which I think there'll be different groups who are not going to be super excited about that based on the different history they've had with those particular police associations or sheriff associations. But we'll see how it plays out because in the end it is being created, and those are the people who are usually responding to these calls. So we're going to go outside. We're going to go through the snow. We're going to take this shortcut. Oh, look at this. I think the folks from Long Walk Home? Long Walk Home?
A Long Walk Home?
A Long Walk Home?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
You want to talk about your group at all? Or?
Talk, Rachel.
And so y'all came from Chicago. Like, what brought you here, and what's it like to be in Minneapolis on this wonderfully cold day?
Yeah, so what brought us here is we've kind of had noticed the similar stories of missing and murdered black girls in Chicago, and we've kind of been doing a lot of work around that and tried to have memorial. We were trying to build a memorial for Rakia Boyd, who was shot by an off-duty police officer in 2012. So we came here in solidarity with we've noticed the similar storyline, and we just came in solidarity with the missing and murdered Indigenous women.
Yeah, there's a lot of similarities, and there's a lot of underrepresentation for help. So it's like if we don't help each other, then who's going to help us?
Yeah.
Cool. And then there was like a hashtag say her name.
Yeah.
And then hashtag bring her home, just to show that these movements are connected.
Yeah, exactly.
And then you're all based in Chicago. Is there a way people can look like on the internet to find out more information about you all? Or?
Yeah, you can go to www.longwalkhome.org.
All right, great. Well, cool. Thanks for talking to us. I'll let you get.
you.
Well, we gotta try to get up these stairs. We'll get there eventually. I just want to catch up with them a little bit again. So we're gonna keep moving. That's A Long Walk Home. They have a website. You can go check it out. They're from Chicago, trying to raise awareness of murdered and missing black women as well. They're talking about Rakia Boyd. You can look at that story. I think the Say Her Name hashtag came from Sandra Bland. It's like that sort of started coming around. So you can look at those two cases. Pretty good to look at. Just know that's what's going on in the United States. So we're going to keep moving up here. Again, I want to say thank you for everyone who's joined us. And we're still here. We're going to stand still for a little bit. So enjoy. Yeah, so this will be over 1,000 people. We're going to do our best to interview more folks. I guess I can just keep trying right now. I'm going to look at my phone and see if anybody has said anything. Oh, go out that way? All right. Yeah, we're going to try to go through the snow. Hey. Here we go. We're going this way. Hello. Hey. I didn't buckle my boots right. God, I've messed up. I'm just getting snow on my stuff. I know. It's like days now thinking about how I should tie my boots properly. And days not doing it. So we're trekking through the snow to get to the front of the march for everybody. Whoa, I almost fell. Okay, I didn't. Yeah, if you haven't been in Minneapolis, there's been some snow going down. You can see it here. I think it's like the snowiest February. No, I don't think it's Seattle. Anyways, a bunch of snow fell. It's everywhere. There was snow emergencies all over the place. People were mad. Driving was really interesting. No. All right, so again, the march together. Usually well, I've only been on one of these marches. So I don't know what usually is. Except one time I went on this march. Okay, it was like a 45-minute jaunt. All right, almost there, almost to the sidewalk. All right, big moves. We did it. They only lost their gloves. Tragedy. All right, here we go. There's the Minneapolis American Indian Center. I said it like 1,000 times, but it's right there. It's 1530 East Franklin. That's where we are in Minneapolis, Minnesota. You can see all these people. A lot of these signs. You see this red dress. If you haven't figured it out, the red dress is like a representation of an MMIW. So the empty dress, the missing person, disappeared person. Again, a lot of these different families that are here are missing people. If you can go back through like the catalog of different MMIW coverage we've done. We have a lot of interviews from different people who are missing folks, what it's like to come together, try to hold space together. So.
Hi guys.
This is I think the organizing portion before the march leaves. That's where we're at right now. Like I said, there's like 1,000 people. I assume these are the marshals, making sure nobody gets lost in traffic. Ready to take it off. Oh, what? Okay, I'm gonna follow them, I guess. I know, but my shoes aren't tied right. Mine neither. All right, everybody. So now we're in the street a little bit. We got a police officer vehicle here, blocking it, make sure we're not going to get hit. That's polite. Very good. I'm going to try to fly this thing. Where's live? Is there? Everyone's technically in our shot. So, again, this is Minneapolis, Minnesota. Minneapolis American Indian Center. Murdered and Missing Indigenous Women's March. Near 1,000 people, from my understanding. Probably more. I'm not good at counting crowds. Somebody had a little clicker. They're at 608 a while ago, so there's like more people now. People are still coming out of the center itself, and then the march will be taking off. Well, I guess that way. Just a guess. We're gonna go west, right? East, eventually, or not? Maybe not. We'll figure it out. Watch this. I hope I do this. Boom! It's gonna work now. It's gonna work. I made it work. I did. Watch. Let's see if I can get a microphone close to the music. I know unicorn. Hey! That's the ramp, is on the drum. I'm not sure if that's the drum group, but. Southside Ramblers, everybody. That's what you're just listening to. The Southside Ramblers, just so you know, the drum group. That's who they are. We're going to get out of the way. Looks like this truck is going to be coming out. You can see the people are forming hands. You got some marshalling going on. Some marshalling going on. All right. So we got out of the way.
Hey, you all right?
Yeah, good to see you. Oh yeah, let's. I was yelling a bunch. That was Natives Against Heroin. We followed them through the encampment early on when it formed. So you can go back when I was like going, hey, that was just recognizing we had interviewed them. Natives Against Heroin are here. Good folks with the nah.
Wall of Forgotten Natives was right down the street.
Yeah, Wall of Forgotten Natives is right over here. If you go back, you can see that video of us walking through there.
He's and he used to be on KMOJ too, right?
Yep.
So he used to be on KMOJ and he's with the
Prairie Island Indian community.
Yeah, so he's willing to do an interview with you.
All right. Well, yeah. If you want to talk about what's well, let's face this. We go over here. Oh, if you want to introduce yourself and talk about what's going on here today, what brought you out?
Okay. Hello, my name is Samuel Wells. I'm born and raised right here in South Minneapolis. I think today is very good. The turnout with people is very important what's going down with the community, and we're recognizing and bringing back to the forefront of all the murdered and missing Indigenous women. It's kind of been brushed to the side, but this is why we do these displays and support. We need it back, bring it back out in the forefront. And you know, there's a lot of mothers and daughters who are missing, and they need to be found. So, you know, anybody, any way that anyone can help, it'd be really appreciated. But as you see, everybody's here from the heart, and so when you do things from the heart, you get good results. So we just want to wish everybody a safe walk today, a safe march, and you know, we hope to see these women again and hear from them again.
Thanks for talking to us.
Yep.
Thank you so much. Oh. All right, so let's we're gonna try to talk to some bystanders as we move through this, and yeah, this is the march. So we showed you earlier an art build yesterday, and then we came out. We heard the speakers talking about why they're here. You can go back in the past to hear that. Now we're gonna go on this march here, which is what they're doing to bring awareness and uplift the voice of this issue. You heard the Lieutenant Governor. We spoke to her talking about how they are forming this task force. But this task force would not have been formed if it wasn't like for events like this that have been going on for years now. My first MMIW event was in Grand Forks, North Dakota in like 2012, I think. Just a small group of people standing outside of that university just trying to bring awareness to this. And so since then I've seen it really grow, and I've been lucky enough to be around different people who are on the ground doing this and organizing this, to be able to come out to these events to see them for myself and also bring them out to you all. So I want to again thank everybody out there who's watching. This is Minneapolis, Minnesota, Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women's March, being led by women who are singing and the youth. Here today, what brought you out here?
So I'm principal at Anishinaabe Academy, and actually Rory Wakemup came to us this fall and asked if we would want to be a part of this march. So we've been working around curriculum, and actually this is our theme up here. Yep. You are sacred, you are invaluable, you are irreplaceable. And so we're really looking at building spirit and really trying to help change the narrative, starting with our young ones. We have students here as young as 4 years old, all the way up through 5th grade. About 250 and a bunch of families. So we brought, and then we also had Northeast and Sanford Middle School Native students join us. So we have almost 400 kids with us today.
What do you think is like the good of children coming out to an event, leading an event like this? Like what's good about that?
Well, what's good about that is I feel that we're not only educating our students, but our community. their families, and then really helping them feel empowered.
Yeah.
And so for them, again, with our theme of spirit building, they're really trying to ingrain in our children that they are sacred, they are valuable, they are indispensable, and they're irreplaceable, and that they need to know that each and every day.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Right here.
Thank you.
My name is Lorenzo. Thanks for talking to us so much. Alright, so I was the principal of the Anishinaabe Academy talking about why there are 400 kids here today from multiple schools to stand in solidarity with this march. Saying that it's empowering them, and they have this theme up in the front. I'm going to go read it one more time. That's what you said was really important. You are sacred, valuable, indispensable, and irreplaceable. And I want all of these children to know that. That's what they're marching here, and that is just the truth of the situation. And yeah, here it is. There are 1,000 people marching right now. If you're just joining us here in Minneapolis, Minnesota, this year's Murder Indigenous Women's March, trying to bring more attention to this ongoing crisis in Indian country and in the United States and worldwide and constant since contact. This year, as you heard, there was a task force being created in Minnesota to kind of look at this information, to take this seriously as an actual issue that should be focused on. That task force, that push for that task force didn't exist last year, so you can see it changes are happening in the year that we were on the street last year until now. There's movement going on. There's different, if you listen to Peggy Flanagan talk about different indigenous leadership now within these structures of government that exist within the United States, who are pushing for these things to be acknowledged, and they are being acknowledged now, at least in the sense where these bills are appearing in their platforms and people have to talk about them. And it sounds like it's going to be funded here in Minnesota, and we'll see how it goes from there. But the task force is very, very large, and it's really going to try to just like correlate all this information. And he said a lot about like solutions they're going to come up with. And that's what it looks like. I read the bill. The task force is going to create this group of people who are going to talk about this and talk about what they can do to change it, shift it, and stop all of this violence that's occurring in indigenous communities against indigenous women, and sex trafficking, and so on. So there's work going into it, and it's turning into these committees now. But there you go. Well, you can see if you look all the way back. I mean, this march is huge. Like it's good to see you. Yeah, there's a lot of people coming. I think it's probably bigger than last year. So you can see all these shirts that people are wearing were made last night. And hello, yeah, these are, hello, much respect, hello. Again, shout outs. Anyway, so yeah, so the march is huge. Pretty gigantic.
How are you?
I'm alright. Come on. Again, you're watching this on unicornriot.ninja. Thanks to all our Facebook viewers, Twitter, Periscope viewers, I should probably say, YouTube, and live stream. Again, if you do like this content, please give it a like and a share. Share it out. We do not have any sort of budget for advertisement at all. So yeah, so if you like it, you sharing it is how this gets seen, along with all of our content. If you go and look at our website, unicornriot.ninja, you think something on there is important, grab that link, share it out. That's the only way people are going to see it. Besides us sharing it, but you help a lot. Anyway, so we're going to keep following this march. Again, really excited to be here. Second year in a row, at least I've made it. And there's more people here. I don't know, if we're going to do the count of the people, there's definitely more people here. It's familiar faces, but a lot of new faces. And people have just, I guess, really done a great job of years of organizing this to continually bring out more folks and also put pressure on the state government to do something and acknowledge it as being real. That's at least happening here. If anybody out there who cares about state measure stuff, that is happening in Minnesota, but also in North Dakota, New Mexico.
Individuals standing on the bridge.
they're gonna get in troubles. They got in troubles. Those folks are in troubles. So these task forces are being organized. It says like North Dakota, New Mexico, Minnesota. I can't remember the other state. There's been a nationwide federal level bill that was tried to push forward, but then it was stopped for whatever reason. And so these things are happening now, where these different task forces focused on Indigenous justice issues are at least being put forward, saying that Indigenous people do deserve justice. And so it's starting to happen, at least again in the framework of this state government. But again, people have been doing this work on the grassroots level forever, since contact. So this is a result of this work that's been happening. Now it looks like the state is going to do something, or try to do something, or people are trying to get it to do something. Yeah, so yeah, it's a pretty, I don't know if you've been on this, it's a pretty song of walking, lots of children, there's tons of youth right up in the front. Super important to this Indigenous people is just our people, just like the kids, the youth, and then knowing they have a place. And you can see that was that sign they were carrying in the front, was they're irreplaceable, and it's just like it's fact. And so that they're up the front holding this march down, following this truck filled with Indigenous women who are singing, and then there's a lead banner. I think that's we can go take a look at it. I don't know exactly what it is, so we're gonna try to move up there. And do you all want to talk about why you're here? Anyways, yeah, trying to get a few interviews as we go. Again, we're going to turn right on South Cedar Avenue here, if you want to know where we're at, if you're following on the map. I like to pretend that people are on Google Maps right now. It's like pin dropping where we're at. So we're at the South Cedar Avenue and East Franklin Avenue, going to turn south on that. Everyone's wearing a song in the front. I don't know about that. I want to also give a big thank you to all our recurring donors who are putting that support in every month. You make this possible. So thank you so much for all you donors who have given to allow us to get out here and pay for all this gear and this data and just bringing this to you live at higher quality. So you've been following along. Things are getting better and better, and that's the goal. So thanks a lot for everyone who's been supporting this platform, so we can bring you marches like this and try to get you different voices from the ground, so you can see for yourself, decide for yourself what's going on. The principal's hard at work.
It's a better
organizing. Let's go to the head banner. Lead banner? Head banner? Lead banner? Hey. Let's go. No More Stolen Sisters is the head banner. Did you want to talk about why you're marching at all? Or?
For No More Stolen Sisters, we got to bring awareness to our missing and murdered Indigenous women. What happens is state line, federal lines, they don't want to have a task force to go looking for our stolen sisters and have the perpetrators go anywhere or even find our sisters. And so we're marching to make sure that we can make that happen.
Yeah, and it's happening. I mean,
it's happening. We just passed a bill.
Yeah.
So I'm really excited. 17 people on a task force that are going to start looking for our stolen sisters.
I know. Thanks. Does anybody else want to talk? All right, I was going to try again. Another interview. Let's get. This is the front. No More Stolen Sisters. The front banner. You can see the side they're creating this task force to actually look into this. It's like the state government actually putting money into something that people are asking for. So they're pretty excited. We got some big spaces forming here. I don't want to say the Vanguard. So you have this head banner, and then we got this truck coming here with a quilt on the front that I think has little stories in each of the quilt sections, and then you have the Anishinaabe Academy come in, hundreds of kids, and then hundreds behind them. So these are the kids that I think were coming on those 14 school buses. So they're added to the hundreds of people who are already inside. So we have just a lot of folks. I mean, people person. There's a lot of people. Here comes this really steely-eyed concentration of the driver here. Watching this on Unicorn Riot. We're in Minneapolis, Minnesota. I'm going to pull out, I'll read you this information so we know exactly where we're going at. So this march is for honoring our missing and murdered Indigenous women, girls, boys, LGBQI, Two-Spirit, and Transgender relatives. There's a hashtag, very large, hashtag MPLS2019, MMIWR. Minneapolis 2019 MMIWR, MPLS 2019 MMIWR is a hashtag. Yeah, they wanted something. It's on this fly they gave us. It says you're the same. I think it says there, you're sacred, valuable, indispensable, and irreplaceable. Is sort of like the on their flyer as well. They want everyone to know that. If you did join us earlier, we started a rally. If you want to go back and see the speakers, there's a Mary Kudish Poden, House District Representative for 41B, who put forth the task force. You heard people talk about it a little bit, along with Lieutenant Governor Peggy Flanagan, who also spoke. And then also during days, surviving family member of somebody who actually has lost somebody. And you heard a lot of people have lost people. It's pretty, when we start going to these events and start talking to folks about what's been going on, it's really hard because everyone has a similar story and it's not like a uplifting one. But I think that's part of the goal of events like this, is to counter the stark reality of people going missing, people being disappeared, people losing their lives, but then also coming together to bring all these people together to empower each other, to stand, just, you heard it over and over again, stand together, uplift their voices. And they've been doing it for years now, and as far as I can tell, at least it's been working. There is movement going on in these different areas, along with the grassroots obviously are growing. If you look at this march right now, this goes for a bit. So the sign says, Indigenous women are not vulnerable, we are targeted. Pretty good sign. Do you want to go in the back? Let's in the front. We're going to let the march pass by a little bit. So it's like the beginning youth part. We talked to the principal. I'm not sure if we should talk to the youth. We'll let them go because, yeah, it's a little harder. Like you can see everybody turned out here. Hey, let's go put their hands up. Some sage flying by. It's this warrior song again. Different group. There's so many people. Whoever serves you right, there's like way more people than before. At least 1,000. Yeah. It's like, it just keeps going and going. It's pretty good. Yeah. We're getting some love from the crowd. Again, we've been covering, this is the second year covering this march. We also covered the art build. So you're seeing like these justice for murdered Indigenous women banners, there's like bandanas, there's some shirts. Those were made last night in a community event. I talked to a bunch of the artists. They really loved art. And they basically said that art was how to bring people together. And that all of these different things they were making together is like they made them together, but then they're also the voices of this event. They're all now through the march. They're kind of like uplifting the voice of the march by making that art together. So that was like, that went down last night. It was really fun. Happens again, I think, I don't know, every year. It happened the last 2 years. And Yeah, it was a great event. There was free food too, which I appreciate. Everybody throwing events, always good. It's good, you know, if you can throw an event, have some food, you know? And so they didn't know how to throw it down good. Indigenous-led event, this would be a feed. They know what's up. We know what we're doing. Alright, so this march is still going. I was gonna like maybe stay here till the end, but maybe we should just keep going because I think we're in the middle. We're about to go through Little Earth over here. And so let's head that way and see what it's like.
It didn't break anyway.
Did you want to talk at all? Did you want to talk? Okay. We just did it though. We just. No, it's like. All right. No pressure. No pressure.
Girl, you got the right coat for the job today.
Anyway, just trying to pull out a few interviews from the crowd, but not. Yeah, people are doing what they want to do. You want to talk again?
I know, that's right.
How's it going? How's it feel to be out here today? I talked to you last night.
Yes. Hi, my name is Waneen White Eagle. I'm here to support our Native women about sex trafficking and prostitution, and that our women are not for sale. Our Native women are not for sale today or ever. That we just are organized today.
Thank you. All right, now we're just in the middle of the march. Yeah, it's great art. MMIW. Yeah, a lot of people have relatives who have gone missing and disappeared. If you haven't talked to anybody who's gone through that, I suggest that you do, but also just be prepared. It's just really hard to even listen to. So I can't imagine what it's like to go through. You know, it's like somebody who's never coming home. They haven't come home, and they just haven't. There's no information. There's no information. There's no information. There's missing. There's no information. You know, and it sounds really. It's really hard rendering. Did you want to talk about? Did you want to talk about?
You know who'd be good?
Huh.
Linda.
Who's Linda though?
Coming up to Burgundy Home.
Burgundy?
She was at our event last night, the one that you were at.
Uh-huh.
She's coming up. You'll see her. She's got a burgundy coat.
Oh, I'll try. Okay. Burgundy coat. She's short.
She's like me. We're just kind of tucked in there.
Okay.
She's shorter.
All right. We'll find her. I think maybe. Someone's trying to find someone for us to interview. I was supposed to interview somebody else that point.
Behind the guy with the black spiky hair. See the burgundy?
Oh. All right. Excuse me, Linda. Hi. My name is Lorenzo. I'm with like a press organization. I was wondering if I could interview you. You were suggested by somebody. They're like, Linda would be great. You want to talk about why you're here and like, this is what brought you out? What's going on?
Well, I work with the Minnesota Indian Women's Sexual Assault Coalition, and we are one of the organizers and partners in this march. And I guess our organization last year alone was affected by three of our members that had been either murdered or missing. So it's a real emotional part for everybody, I think, connected. I just had a conversation with somebody that most of America doesn't know the true history of the indigenous people of this land. It isn't taught in elementary public school or where, we learn about other tragedies and genocide of other continents, but not here. So.
What is? I mean, this march itself has 400 school children in front of it. Like, what's that feel like to at least bring out that youth?
It's really empowering that they're going to be raised in a part and empowered with ancestral knowledge, whether it's songs, teachings, and most of all the love that has been a part of intended outcomes for our people, that we would maybe forget who we were and forget the power in our ancestral knowledge. So they're learning the songs. If you were at the Indian Center, you heard them singing, and you heard them singing in their language.
Yeah. Where are we walking through right now? Like, what is this area?
This is the Little Earth housing here, and there is a designated for tribal people. So yeah, South Minneapolis, parts of North Minneapolis were predominantly tribal communities, you know, in these little areas here. So we have a place of gathering and coming together. The clinic real close.
And then, what would you say, like, you said that, like, people aren't taught the history, which I'm not arguing against at all, but I would say, like, what would you tell somebody who's interested in learning the actual history of what happened in these territories? Like, where should they go? Where should they start? Like, what would you say about that?
I think it happens for our people is to listen to your older relatives and ask and seek that, instead of being in a survival mode, that we're proactive and encouraging after we do our healing, because I don't think anybody is not affected by the violence, and it was intentional. Whether our parents, our grandparents went to boarding school, that all has effects, and on social conditions, including addiction and foster care and deliberate attempts to break our people apart.
And it was all, like you said, it was all, like, these things that happened weren't mistakes. Like, people were on purpose putting them.
That's how you break society. That's the truth. They can prove it. You know, is take away their language and tell them everything they believe is wrong, when actually that's going to be the strength of our healing. And we've survived. Every one of us is a survivor here. You know.
And this last question. Thank you so much for your time. But what is, like, you know, and talking about that, there's, like, a lot of, like the United States has a lot of injury in itself, like a lot of, like, trauma it's caused. I don't know how. I guess you already told me. It's like bringing people together, right? It's like how you get through that trauma.
Yeah, and it's coming together in a good way. If you were over there at that gathering there at the Indian Center, you heard that song from a woman who has been impacted on both sides, in her elders with her father being murdered, and then I believe it's her niece. And that's on the history above us that was here before our elders. And then it's going on to our kids and our grandkids. And she's saying a song of healing, not because she's hopeful, but because she is healing. And I think that's the power in it.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you. I got a hand warmer.
That's what I'm
Where are you guys from?
I have a card.
Unicorn Riot?
Yeah.
I think I saw you guys last year.
Yeah, we were here last year. We're here again. So thanks a lot for all that.
Thank you. Thank you for being here and for telling the truth.
Yeah, well, this is it. Again, thanks for joining us. This is Lorenzo of the Unicorn Riot. We're walking through Little Earth right now, which is an Indigenous community here in South Minneapolis. This all was Indigenous land at one time, so, you know. Wow. Here, I just want to say again, thanks for joining us here. It's been an honor again to be on this march, just to bring this to you live. Anybody who wants to support this sort of work, please go to unicornriot.ninja, click support our work, become a recurring donor, or just give what you can. It goes all back into production. If you've been following us for a while, you see sort of the increase of our gear and our quality, and that's because people have been supporting us. So thank you to all the supporters. It's impossible without you. The cars behind you. Anyways, we're going to go back to this march. Again, if you don't know, although I said it a million times, I'll keep saying it. We're in Minneapolis, Minnesota. This is a march to raise the voices and the issue of murdered and missing Indigenous women, girls, boys, two-spirit LGBTQI relatives. just to let people know this is an issue that these communities are being impacted by, and they want changes to start occurring now. And they want changes to start occurring before. Like this is ongoing. Most of these things we bring you to are ongoing issues. They're not new. It's just like a new iteration at the moment. But this has been ongoing since contact, since settlers got here. This has been an issue. So people are trying to like right it now, you know, hundreds of years later. So again, thanks to everyone who's joined us. Thanks to all those people who are liking and sharing these feeds. Again, we are a non-commercial platform, so none of this is being sold. It's just offered to you for free, and your support makes it possible. So there you go. We're going to keep going here. Looks like we're taking a ride up ahead. But again, thousands of folks. We have one more event I was just trying to bring you to today. At 6 p.m. there's going to be an art opening where there's going to be an art exhibit. All Relations Art Gallery, this gallery here, is going to have a Murdered and Missing Indigenous Women sort of event and a bunch of art installations. So we're going to try to bring you there live today at 6. Interview some of the artists. So you know what's going on. Interview some of the artists so we can get a different view of like all these different ways that people are trying to create change. But being a community event where you have people just building art together around this issue, talking about this issue, coming together, and as someone told us, like learning each other's names. Like now I know this person, I didn't before, and that's how you build community. And so we have that. Then we have this march itself where you just have all these people coming together in the street. And tonight there'll be an art exhibit as well. Hey, do you want to talk about why you're here?
Hi, I'm Arlene. I'm here in support of MMIW. This is a good movement here. I agreed a lot with what the ladies before had talked about being invisible, not being recognized, not even being considered. And we are First Nations people, the people here, this land on here already. So to be considered invisible and not even, you know, checked up on or anything like that is complete absurdity. So I feel like these movements like this get us going, let us realize, because when it all comes together, this is our home. Unchimaka, all of us, we all have to come together to protect this place, to protect the First Nations people that were here before and are still here. We're not invisible. We're still here.
Yeah. Oh, what is this? I mean, I think you probably said. I was like asking, like, what's it like to be in the street with like 1,000 relatives?
It's amazing. It's energy. It's love. It's compassion. It's caring. It's being a human. It's not being a Republican, a liberal, a left, a right, anything. It's being a human being and caring about other human beings. That's what it's about, right?
Yeah. Well, thank you.
You're welcome.
I love you guys. You we got some more love. All right, so I think we're in like the middle of the march now. We just turned onto a road, East 26th Street, off Cedar Avenue. We're heading west on East 26th now. Just in the middle of a bunch of people. Sorry. Did you want to talk about?
Yeah. This is my Aunt Rita. She's been missing for about 4 years. We're just here to find her, hopefully.
Yeah? Well, thanks for letting me know about Rita. So you can see here, Rita, how do you say the last name?
Papaki.
Papaki is a $50,000 award. If you see them anywhere, people are looking. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Again, so like a lot of these signs you're seeing have people's names on them. Those are people who are missing and family members who are looking for them. Like, it's not, like while there is like this thread of joy throughout the march, there's also that underlying like reality of why people are here. And that is because people are missing from their lives. It's a lot.
Hey guys, where do you guys come from? What outlet is that? Right. Where can people see that? Oh, is it like an online podcast? Or?
Well, it's a media platform. So this is our live stream. We do live streams, edited video, documentaries, news stories. It's kind of media in general.
Do you focus in Minneapolis? It looks like it. Yeah.
Well, we go everywhere. Like this guy was just in Greece doing some stories, you know. So.
Oh wow. Okay. Yeah, I'm just asking because I'm interested in journalism and filmmaking and whatnot.
Yeah, well, let's send us an email. Okay. Cool. We're gonna get back to real lives.
Great. Awesome.
Okay, yeah. Did you want to talk about why you're here at all?
This is for women, for the missing people in general.
All right, cool. That's it. Thank you.
I get camera shy.
Oh yeah. Sorry. That's what I was trying to ask first. Hey, take care. All right. So I think we're like halfway through the march. So again, thanks everyone who's joined us. Thanks. This is Minneapolis, Minnesota. I am Lorenzo, your host, and we are on this. You can see this Justice for Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women here march. I don't know if from the background, but there is like a video from last year's march. It's like really kind of similar. They did the same thing where they created this art build beforehand. It's a resource center or an American Indian Center. It's just like this giant building. So these different institutions that are here are serving the community, and they're making spaces for people to be able to build the art for their marches, and also bringing places for people to come together to have a march themed around Indigenous people. That's kind of what happens when you have institutions that are like people's institutions, I guess, and have people have access to them. You want to go to the back or the front? I feel like I talked to that about people in the front. I don't know who's in the back. You know, we're gonna miss getting. There it is. Yeah, you can chill too. So we're gonna show the march. Still a lot of it left. They want to talk. You want to talk at all? Red Lake Nation, you want to talk about why you're here?
Sure, representing Red Lake.
Yeah.
Standing up for my sister Rose Downwind, who was murdered 4 years ago. Marching for my sister Rose Downwind.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Red Lake Nation. You want to talk about why you're here? Oh, gotta try. All right. Anyway, so let's look at the end of the march. We're gonna swing it back forward now, see how much it takes to get back to the front. But that's basically the whole thing. So you kind of stuck with us. You can see it's over 1,000 people. How many people do you think are here? 1,000. 1,000. Look, that's a good guess. I guess too. I have no idea. I cannot count groups of people. But yeah, it looks like 1,000. Like I said, there was a person with a counter earlier who counted 608.
Riot. What is that? Is that the name of your
media group? Yeah.
Your media group?
Yeah. Here.
Okay. Let me get one more.
Yeah.
Thank you. So we can look it up. Thank you.
No problem. You're welcome.
Thank you for covering this because we need more. We really need more people to know what's going on with this.
Yeah,
you know, so thank you very much and really appreciate it.
Yeah. Thanks.
Because obviously Channel 9 and all them other ones don't care. And are controlled by, the elite. But yeah, thank you, McWitch. Okay, McWitch.
Again, so people are glad that we're here. Again, we're an independent organization that's run by this viewer funds and grants. So we don't. Yeah. So there you go. The end of the march. Look at that. Ooh. All right, we're gonna try to get up to the back of the front. They're really exciting. It's starting to snow a little bit, which, think about. We're almost back to the location, and look at the beginning locale. They'll probably take it down to protect the gear. How do you think it's going to do? All right, there you go.
I got a long arm.
Like I really want to watch. This is gonna be hilarious.
I saw you. I tried to say what up. How you doing?
On a scale of 1 to not good. It's not bad.
Over this way, everybody has to go around the corner to step to this.
Hey, let's get up to the front and then let's just do an outro. I'm worried about the snow. All right, everyone, we're gonna try to get to the front. The snow's starting to come down really hard. We want to protect this gear that we just got for you, and so we're gonna get to. Oh no, man. We're usually at the front and just do like a. But you see people are still marching even though the snow's coming down. And people are still marching even though I think it's like 20 degrees. With the scheme of Minnesota and Minneapolis, isn't that bad. It's actually pretty warm comparatively to the situation that's been here for a bit. So like a lot of people are out. Most people in Minnesota know how to deal with the fact that it's gonna be winter. You can see everyone's pretty well dressed for the elements. But if you're 1,000 people out here in the street, regardless of the temperature, regardless of the snow, just trying to bring attention to the murder and missing indigenous people, indigenous women. We're heading back to the American Indian Center right now. We're kind of like moving to the front of the march. And it's to come back there and kind of close out. We might close out a little earlier just because the snow's coming down. We want to make sure that our gear doesn't get too messed up by it, and or messed up at all, because I think messed up is just broken. I think that's the truth. But anyway, so we're doing that. I want to thank everyone again who's been following our coverage of the MMIW events here in Minneapolis. Again, if you don't know, you can kind of look right now, like hashtag MMIW. You'll probably see marches like this and events like this all over the nation right now. Every February 14th, this event kind of goes down. You can see people wearing red to
Unicorn Riot!
It's like the symbol of this event. So the red dress, red in general. I'm wearing a little red. You can't see it. It's a little red. I swear I am. Oh, it's right there. It's underneath. I also made a shirt last night. Just so everyone knows, I'm not wearing it. I'll have to show you later. It's pretty nice. So here the women are for sale. Comes moving a little faster. Snow's nice, not gonna lie. It's pretty. We're into pretty. Again, anybody who's been following our platform, you can go to our website, unicornriot.ninja, and look at a little bit of new content. We've been following the Line 3 sort of fighting resistance in Minnesota now for a few years. Most recently, we put out a story of a task force. Southern Lights Task Force is being organized by the state to monitor protests. It's another indigenous issue, indigenous-led, going through indigenous treaty lands. So if you want to take a look at that, that's on our website right now. A bunch of Freedom of Information Act, FOIA documents. This event itself is about missing and murdered indigenous women, which will connect to things like pipeline fights through the man camps that are created, and people turn into like turn into a focal point of like sex trafficking and other events. Basically, these encampments of workers that are near reservations. People argue that they traffic women from these reservations, and so people are trying to put a stop to all of this here. Just trying at least to start this task force now. Start this task force that will bring attention, or at least pay attention to what's going on, and we'll actually do reports. Because as you heard Peggy Flanagan said, there isn't any data. There isn't any data sets of anybody monitoring like the amount of women who are being kidnapped or disappeared from indigenous communities. And then people are starting to do it now. Finally, well, people have been doing it independently, but states are starting to be pushed to do it, and the federal government is starting to be pushed to do it, to acknowledge that it's a real thing. These women are not vulnerable. We are targeted. But yeah, I feel that's pretty much how the government cares about something. It just throws money at creating something about it. So I mean, it's the most I can show, I guess. So yeah, it looks like we got our gear a little covered. We got a little defended from the elements, so we're gonna stick around a little bit longer here. We're almost back to, I think we're a couple of blocks away from the American Indian Center. So I'm trying to...
Oh, I guess.
Yeah, I'm just gonna watch this move. Oh, I'm in the march. All right. All right. The snow's coming down. People still moving. No fear. to talk about your banner at all?
The banner?
Oh, it's like why you're here?
Yeah, sure.
Why are you here?
I'm here today because I'm Indigenous and I'm at risk of being murdered sometime in my life. Yeah.
And what's I guess, were you here last year?
No, I wasn't here last year.
What's this event like for you to be here for the first time, I guess?
It's very beautiful to see just everybody come together for this cause, and especially to see all the Indigenous women and their families, you know, represent their daughters and mothers that have been murdered. So it's really beautiful, especially to see just people from the community that have no ties to Indigenous people as well come together.
Thank you. Did you want to talk about the banner?
Yeah, this Khadijah Britton is from the Round Valley Nation in California. I seen the poster of missing flyer when I was driving in California on a rest area wall. Yeah. So I looked it up and I thought, wow. So I shared it in Minnesota, shared it with my allies and friends and family from around the Midwest region here. Contacted the family and let them know that we were going to spread the word about Khadijah. She disappeared on February 7th in 2018. Okay. So I contacted the family and I invited them to the rally.
Well, hopefully they're watching right now and they can see this banner.
We'll share your link with them.
All right, well here I'll give you this.
Thank
you. Yeah, thank you so much for telling me about that, for doing that. So then she just like ran into a missing persons poster and decided that they're going to advocate for them. It's very incredible. Did you want to talk about the sign at all, or? Again, it's really hard. You know, a lot of people are carrying along. So we're like towards the end of the march. You want to know again how big this march is. Trying to interview people, but again, you know, just be aware of like how much it is to have a loved one missing, and so it being brought up, also being held, you know, holding that space for them, but also just how we have to talk about it over and over again. I'm sure it's very hard. Did you want to talk at all about? No. Okay. Jojo boys, what's up? I'll take a picture.
What?
Oh, okay.
I see you.
You want to talk?
Let me just go.
Okay. Okay. We got a block. All right, so I'm talking to a few more people again. Again, like I find marches like people are engaged in their march, and like they're chanting, and so like trying to interview them is always like a, you know, like get into it. Let's try to get in the break where people want to take a moment to pay attention to you when they're paying attention to what they're doing. And thanks for joining us. We are almost back to the American Indian Center here in Minneapolis, Minnesota. The snow is coming down harder, but that didn't really slow the march down too much. It might actually sped it up, make it like so I move it a little faster. Yeah, very nice. Well, so let's start. Yeah, thanks everyone for joining us. I was going to try to find you this artist curator about the art shows tonight. I didn't find them. So I'll be sticking around at 6 p.m. We'll be live again with more murdered and missing Indigenous women sort of events. The last one, at least of this little series that I was trying to bring you to. We got Nico and Georgia helping. We got Andrew on the back end too. So there's like 4 people from Unicorn Riot bringing you this coverage right now. So yeah, thanks again for making it possible, because it wouldn't have happened. And we're almost back. Really great event so far. Looking forward to tonight. So last year I missed the the art opening that was kind of part of it as well. So I'm really excited to be able to make that this year and bring that to you all, and just kind of like take a look at it all and just kind of give it the space that I think we can give it here at Unicorn Riot with giving you this live feed. I think it's probably been an hour or so now, an hour and a half, of just what it's like on the ground, what it's like to get all these people here together. Try bring you a few interviews and voices of what they're thinking and why they're here. And we were able to interview Lieutenant Governor Peggy Flanagan about the task force that's being created, which I'm excited that I was able to do that. I read the bill. You can too. If you do the search, and it kind of tells you of like, somebody said it was like a 17-person task force made up of different groups, from grassroots sort of like NGOs to grassroots, just people who have been affected by this issue, just people, to sort of officials from different organizations. So we'll see what that turns out. That's still moving through the legislature. I guess the Senate's looking at it, the Minnesota Senate's looking at it right now. So we don't know how that'll turn out, but it's happening. It wasn't happening before. It wasn't happening last year. And it's also part of sort of maybe the beginning of a groundswell of this happening in different states, not just in Minnesota. I think that's it. All right, let's take it down over here. See if I can. All right, give me 1 second here. I'm going to look at the crowd. I'm going to scan it because there's somebody else to try to interview. All right, so we're back at the corner of Bloomington Avenue and East Franklin Avenue. Snow's coming down now. This is Minneapolis, Minnesota, Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women's March. Going on across the country. This is just one of the marches, not all the marches. So take a look and see of all the different marches that are going on. Thanks for joining us here in Minnesota. Thanks for joining us on Unicorn Riot to watch and listen and share it out. Thanks to all our supporters and donors who made our coverage possible. We can't be here without you. So if you're interested in continuing to support this platform, go to unicornriot.ninja, click support our work. Become a recurring donor if you'd like. It all goes back into improving our coverage, getting better equipment. We're about to do another equipment upgrade. This is just the latest one because of your support. Thankfully, we were able to come out here to the street, Bloomington Avenue, East Franklin Avenue, to this march, bring it to you live. Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women here in Minnesota and nationwide and worldwide. People are organizing to bring attention to this issue, make people start listening to it, and it sounds like at least that's starting to happen a little bit here. And we'll see. We'll keep following this as it goes on, and just keep following unicornriot.ninja, and we'll bring you more information as we find it.
Time for a photo of Big Hand.
I'm going to take the feed down and I'll totally do it.
Oh, okay.
Cool. Yeah, 1 second. All right, well, I don't know if Steve's watching. We're going to go ahead and take this down. Again, thanks for joining us today. My name is Lorenzo. I'm your host. We have Nico and Georgia who are running the camera and doing some more media in the march itself and in the rally. We have Andrew in the back end running the core. So I think so. Thanks to all the Unicorn Riot Collective members and folks who helped make this possible. And thanks to all of you who came along, liked and shared this feed to make sure this information gets out a little bit further. And again, thanks to our donors who are donating to make it possible for us to do this work. So again, this was Minneapolis, Minnesota, Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women's March, ending at the Minneapolis American Indian Center. We're going to be back live at 6 p.m. to bring you more information about this kind of ongoing issue here. And just thanks for joining us again. I'm Lorenzo and I'm out.